So, hi guys, welcome to the MMA UK BJJ Show. So, me, Stoomboy, as always, joined by probably the man of the moment. Obviously, I mentioned this on a couple of the posts that I put up on Facebook. Obviously, definitely the man of the moment. As I said, Polaris veteran, not just Polaris, Grapple Fest, EBI, European champion, IBJJF, no gi champion. So we're obviously going to hear a bit about Ash's kind of journey, obviously from the beginning through his competition experience and so on. So Ash, black belt at the Chris Reese Academy. So obviously a great academy as well. So obviously a lot of good people coming out of the academy. So obviously before we jump into that, obviously one thing we want to mention, obviously we are good friends at Raven Fightwear. Got kindly put up a prize for a competition, so a ranked rash guard and shorts from their ranked range. Some great products on the Raven website, so definitely have a look at that. You can find it on obviously my own page. You can find it on MMA UK BJJ page, as well as MMA UK News and things like that. So yeah, Ash, absolute honour to have you on. As a lot of people wanted me to speak to you, so I'm glad we managed to get you on.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu. Thanks for having me. And I hope whoever listens enjoys and gets something from it. So should be good.
Definitely. And you mentioned obviously since Polaris, we kind of had a laugh about this, but you've done a lot of podcasts over the last few weeks.
Yeah, I keep just accepting. Keep going. Yeah, no worries. I'll do it whenever. And they get a message the day before like we're still good for tomorrow, and I'm like, man, I forgot. But I actually enjoy doing them. Like I think the idea of like sports psychology or the mentality of high level athletes is a really interesting topic, discussion. So it depends. What I've had one podcast where they just did like random fire questions and they were like totally crazy questions. Well, they had nothing to do with jiu-jitsu or lifestyle, but it was just fun, So
Yeah.
hopefully people get something out of it.
Yeah, and again, that's one thing about jiu-jitsu. I mean, obviously high-level guys, because obviously you yourself, you're a high-level guy, definitely one of the top guys in Europe. So obviously for people to be able to reach out to kind of high-level guys, high-level jits guys and stuff like that, I mean, you guys are very, very approachable.
I actually agree with you. In terms of jiu-jitsu, I think it's one of the most surreal things about the sport. I remember it was my first Worlds black belt. I qualified for the black belt gi Worlds in my first year. And I was sitting in the bullpen, and there was like, I think it was like Cabrina, Rafa Mendez, pretty sure like Pacheco. There's tons of guys, Law, everyone was, but they were in the bullpen warming up at the same time as me. And I'm like looking to my right and my left, and I'm like, man, this is ridiculously surreal. Like, how is it possible within the sport that you just enjoy doing every day? You wouldn't go play football game on the weekend and have like Beckham and Ronaldo just like standing opposite sides of you. That'd be insane. So I definitely think it's one of the best things about the sport is the accessibility for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember I did a seminar last year with Rodolfo Vieira. And Rodolfo, what he did was at the end of the seminar, he then spent 2 minutes rolling with every single person in the gym. And I mean, I got guillotined from him, and I thought this was fantastic. I'd just been guillotined by Rodolfo Vieira. So,
I always say in seminars, people are like, oh, will you roll with people? I'm like, yeah, I could roll with a few, but like, I'm not a 90 kilo or 100 kilo dude. I'm 70 kilos. Sometimes I walk around 68.
yeah.
And then, especially like I went to a Polish gym once, and there was like 30 guys, and they're all like 90 to 100 kilos, and I was like,
Yeah.
lads, I'm not making it through all you guys. Like, I won't put this side of life.
Yeah. No, Fionn Davies, she was up in Scotland last year as well, did some seminars, and she said exactly the same thing. She's like, I don't mind rolling with as many people as possible, but obviously I have to draw the line when it comes to kind of weight limits and things like that.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yeah.
it's definitely understandable. Definitely understandable.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll kick off. Obviously the main topic, as everybody's talking about, is the lockdown. So obviously in regards to, I know that you obviously been a kind of professional, so you'll have had your bubbles and stuff like that you have been able to train in. But I mean, what kind of, has there been any restrictions on you at all?
It depends if you're the honest or the PC answer. I'm not. Obviously, I'm not one that you should listen to in terms of advice for coronavirus or anything like that. Like I've got no background in any prior information about it, but I've tried to like just not let it affect my life as much as possible.
Yeah.
The way I view it is I used to have physical contact and train and roll with anywhere between 50 to 100 people per week,
Yeah.
and I've reduced it down to like 6. So, and I've stopped visiting all my friends, all my like family, and I try to do my social distancing, etc. when I go to shops or whatever. And I don't really do anything apart from go to the gym and come home. So
Yeah.
it's pretty essential. So um, I'd consider my training personally like not really affected. Obviously my gym and my business suffered probably the most in terms of my lifestyle.
Mhm.
But I actually quite, it's weird, but I quite enjoyed the um a portion of the first lockdown
Mhm.
where I felt like I actually read a book recently. I've been reading a lot more since lockdown. It's one of the things that changed about myself in lockdown. And they said like the same as like it's easy like to have like an outsider's perspective sometimes is more valuable than when you're inside your own head. And I think like it's too easy to just get used to your life just being like the same rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And I think what the lockdown afforded quite a lot of people to do was the ability to like press a reset button that they didn't even know they needed to press. They really
Mhm.
they didn't realize that they had an opportunity to kind of change some stuff about their life.
Yeah.
The first 2 weeks I treated like a holiday. I was just eating everything and anything in sight, just enjoying myself. And then I kind of looked in the mirror one day. I was like 78 kilograms, which is like 8 kilos heavier than I walk around at usually. And I was like, man, you got to have a word with yourself. So I started like doing yoga every day, started training every day, started dieting properly again, just eating clean, eating healthy, feeling good about myself. And then I just started like trying to think about when I returned to training. It was only I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks I lasted before I started training again.
Yeah.
Um, I tried to start thinking about like if I had the opportunity to change my training, how would I change it? What would I do that would make me a better athlete overall? Like
Yeah.
um, I think when people think about an athlete, the biggest percentage of thought process or the biggest percentage of what people believe is what an athlete needs to do is just train hard.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what I tell everyone is the train hard is probably the minimum an athlete needs to do.
Yeah.
Like as in every athlete has to be on the mat and has to train X amount of hours a day. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3. Eventually it gets to the point where the same as like strength. If you lift 4 times a week, 5 times a week, and you increase it to 8 times a week, from 4 to 8, it doesn't mean you're going to get double the amount of strong in the same amount of time.
Mhm.
So there becomes a point where the diminishing returns of excess training is no longer good.
Yeah.
So I just sat down and thought about what don't I do as an athlete. So I don't lift a lot of weights. I wasn't doing a lot of yoga. I wasn't doing a lot of recovery. So I wasn't really doing like cryo, which I'm doing now,
Mhm.
massage therapy once, twice a week, sauna every day. I wasn't drinking a minimum amount of water. I wasn't doing anything in terms of my mental like positivity. I wasn't reading anything constructive or progressing myself that way. So I just sat back and had a really good think about where I wanted to be at the end of lockdown and where I wanted to be when I started competing again.
Yeah.
One of the biggest differences probably I've put on a bit of muscle mass.
Mhm.
Definitely feeling a lot stronger in myself. Been following a very specific lifting program from uh, a company called Grapple Machine
Mhm.
Strength and Conditioning. So that's been going really well. And I actually like one of the things we changed the most is we separated the idea of pro training and hobbyist training in our
Yeah.
gym. So we no longer do um we no longer do like the guys who want to compete and the guys who just do jiu-jitsu like generically. They don't really train the same classes anymore.
Yeah.
So we have like a pro training squad at like in the middle of the day,
Mhm.
and 15 to 20 guys can come down, but it's the same 15, 20 guys all the time, and we talk a lot about like meeting goals and meeting targets as a team, and the idea of wanting to be better as a squad. Where in a generic class, I would just teach a technique. I hope everyone enjoys, crack a few jokes, have a good laugh, and then everyone goes home just enjoying their evening. So
Yeah.
I think we made some really good structural changes in like the training week, and in
Mhm.
particular the content of how we were training. So yeah, I've had a really good lockdown personally. I think like I'm the best version of myself right now. I probably am not as competition sharp in terms of sparring, but in the winter months, and especially in Wales and the UK in general, I think it can be, fairly like I'm looking at the window now. It's 10 by 7 and it's pitch black. It can
Yeah.
be a little bit demoralising when these months start to hit round, especially when people shut off towards Christmas. It's like 2 weeks now. I think we got a week left of class in the gym, so I'm just trying to be consistent. I think in these like wintry months where potentially you're not going to get your optimal training, the what you need to do, you need to be at least doing the just consistency of like the base level of keeping everything ready to go for the new year. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really happy with how it's gone. I said financially and business wise, it's been a tough year, but I'm sure that's the case for a lot of people, which is why I don't really complain about it because at least we made it to the other end with our gym still being open. So that's always
Yeah.
good.
Definitely, definitely. And as I said, in regards to, you mentioned as well about obviously all the things that you're doing. So I take it the lack of competition that we're having at the moment, I think that's going to have had an effect on your competition
That's yeah,
sharpness and things like that. Yeah.
100%. That's actually the thing I'm missing the most. Like, I it's a tough one right now because I honestly feel like if I take matches um with UK level opponents, it's almost like a lose lose situation for me.
Yeah.
But then I'd like to stay competitively active and I'd like to be um keeping that sharpness and my mindset and everything focused.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like Flow released their rankings a few weeks back, updated it, and they put me in as fifth currently, which
Hmm.
was a big surprise to me. I was really happy with it. I always say, like with rankings, they're all subjective, and you can't be like, "Oh, I'm number," until you've beaten everyone everyone in the world, or the best in your division in the world. You know for a fact.
Hmm.
You can't really consider yourself number one, two, or three, or whatever in the world.
Yeah.
But my goal is to push my way up that ranking and get to that type of standing. So again, like there's no other UK guys highly ranked or especially world level wise. And the only guy who actually is Tom Halpin, and he's
Yeah.
the guy I faced last.
Yeah.
So um, with regards to competition, I'm gonna have to try and get to America as soon as possible. I think Pilar's been doing a great job this year and trying to keep us doing something.
Yeah.
Like squads was really fun, and I had some good runouts, and I had some good matches with some tough guys.
Hmm.
But it's not really conducive to what I'd like to achieve
Yeah.
long term. So when I get the first opportunity, I think I'll be going to America, trying to get on Fight to Win, third class grappling.
Hmm.
I'm trying to get on some of those shows, and compete against the guys out there.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely. And then in regards to obviously jiu-jitsu for you then, so where did it all begin for you? I mean, what attracted you to jiu-jitsu in
Uh,
particular?
so I did traditional like Japanese jiu-jitsu
Hmm.
from a child for self-defense purposes. So my dad used to do it as well. So he took me, my brother, and my sister along to try it out. And to be fair, it was just like I tried everything as a kid. I tried every sport going: rugby, football, gymnastics, cricket, athletics. Anything, swimming. It didn't matter. I would like represent the school or the county or whatever in any sport I could.
Hmm.
But jujitsu was the one that I did the most consistently. So I did jujitsu twice a week, every week from when I was like 6 until I was like 16.
Yeah.
With the other sports, I was intermittently in and out of them, like changing up every different night of the week I could. Um, and then I actually asked my coach at the time, a female, I had a female coach back then called Carrie Griffiths. Um, and I asked her, look, I want to compete in jiu-jitsu. I said, I've been doing it for a long time now. In particular, I wanted to do the Niwaza, the groundwork. I wanted to do so we used to do back to back, which is you all sit back to back, and when they say go, you turn and
Yeah.
you wrestle. Like it's really old school, but I still really love that part of training. I said, look, I'd like to do because there was like back to back tournaments, but they were few and far between, and we weren't really competing gym. We were like a self defense gym.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, look, I want to compete. Do you know of anywhere or anything about?" And my coach at the time said, "Oh, look, in traditional jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu, it's not that. common because obviously the self-defense element is the primary function of it. It's not a sport, it's a martial art.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym the other side of Swansea.
Mhm.
Try it out, and I was like, okay, cool. So I went there for one session with my brother. And the coach, Chris, he was impressed with myself and Josh and I. He was happy with us, and he said, "Look, why don't you come to the adult classes?" So we were 14 at the time, and
Mhm.
he was quite. When we first got there, he was like, "Oh, look, I'm really strict. I don't let anyone just come into the adult classes." So we're like, "Look, let's have a little go, see what we can do, and you can make a decision." So
Yeah.
he phoned us back, and he was like, "Oh, come to the adult classes. You get the most out of it."
Mhm.
And then I just gradually just quit everything I was doing. I just started jiu-jitsu twice a week, and then when they put like a Saturday class on, I quit what I was on Saturday, went to jiu-jitsu, and then Sunday quit that sport, quit rugby, went to jiu-jitsu, and so from like 15, I just about turned 15 um, when I was starting BJJ, and then I just enjoyed it, and I was the type of guy who, Chris was like, "There's competition like tomorrow." I'd be like, "All right, cool. Like just pick me up,
Get me
take me
in
there, I'll compete." But I'd say this to everyone, I got absolutely battered.
Mhm.
I got absolutely whooped for my first few tournaments. Like 20s, 30, 40 points being scored in me in a tournament. To be like, I was getting proper hammered, and it wasn't. I don't really find it demoralizing. I'm a super competitive person.
Mhm.
I always say I'm super competitive in virtually everything I do. Um, and I just enjoyed the thrill of it. I enjoyed the testing myself, and that's what I view competition as a lot of the time. I view it as testing myself against these guys. Like I've lost matches and felt good, and I've won
Mhm.
matches and felt bad. Like it's a case of how I feel I perform is my primary concern when I compete, and I just kept competing, and I just fell in love with the sport. And I remember, it was like, "Oh, why don't you try this?" So I did like the Half Open, and they was like, "Oh, okay, cool. You've won that. Okay, so why don't we try this one?" And there was like the British Open,
Yeah.
and then I won that, and people were like, "Oh, you're starting to get good," and I was like, "Well, I'll take your word for it, but in my opinion, like it's still a big pond, and I was a small fish, so I just had to keep working my way up, and taking along. Back then, like my brother used to like wreck me in every tournament we did. Like he just like we'd make the finals maybe, and he'd give me a beat down. Um, and then actually he had knee surgery, so he was out for 6 months to
Mhm.
about a year. And like kind of when he kind of backed like took the heat off, is when I actually put the foot down. Is when I was like, man, I'm gonna go now. I'm really gonna compete as much as I can. And that was just when we just about when I got purple belt.
Mhm.
And then I was just traveling all over the UK getting tournaments in. I really regret not competing internationally at a lower level.
Mhm.
Like my first time competing in America, I was a brown belt,
Yeah.
and then the first time I did like anything serious, I was a black belt. Where a lot of the up and comers now, like the Ria Tolos, Nicky Ryan, Ethan, these guys, like Taza, they've all done. They've been doing these type of tournaments since they were purple, blue belts. Like
Yeah.
Lacklands, Craig George. You see them all on the podium at Worlds back at purple, brown, blue, and I didn't really compete at all on that
Mhm.
stage. So I do feel like I'm chasing, but then in the UK, it's one of those things where virtually everyone tells you, like every time you go, like, oh, I'm really ambitious for this super high achieving goal, everyone's like, nah, you probably just shouldn't do that. You're probably not going to get it. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then when you do get it, you achieve it. Everyone just hates it. And they're not even like, they don't even go like, well done. They go,
Yeah.
okay, he did it. Oh, okay. And you're like, man, like you don't support me when I was trying to be ambitious, and when I achieve, you don't support me either. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think it's quite typical of the UK. Like Polaris squads, UK when the UK team fought, kind of showed that. The fact that people can't just be supportive of each other.
Mhm.
But UK BJ is really, really taking strides lately. It's really improved the last few years. Obviously, Fionn is serious high level competitor. I know she's brilliant.
Yeah.
I trained with her just for lockdown actually, which was really cool because her parents live close by to the gym.
Hmm.
And I was fortunate enough to get some training with Ross Nichols in. He's
Hmm.
an absolute monster as well. And then when I was with Dan Strauss last, he's on about coming back to tournaments and making a good run at it. So there's great talent everywhere. And then in the gi, you got Sean Coates, Bradley Hills, Oliver Lavelle.
Hmm.
The talent is there in the UK. Um, Maybe just the exposure is not enough.
Yeah.
Like it took me ages to get ranked on Flow, and at one point I'd beaten like 6 out of the top 15 in the
Yeah.
world, and I was still unranked. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what you want me to do really. Like I'm really trying my best here to test myself, and prove myself, but it can be difficult sometimes to get that recognition and then push yourself up, even like elevate yourself higher
Yeah.
within the field. So it's just a case of hard work over time, I suppose. And when I started competing, when I started, first of all, uh, I literally only ever wanted to leave school and teach jiu-jitsu for like just to be able to put food on the table.
Yeah.
I didn't really, there was no ambition to be like, oh, I'm gonna be world champion. I competed because I enjoyed it, and I did jiu-jitsu because I loved it.
Hmm.
It wasn't the case of I'm gonna be the best in jiu-jitsu I could ever be. It was a
Hmm.
case of I really don't want to be sat behind a desk, so if I teach jiu-jitsu, I won't have to.
Yeah.
And that was my initial thought. I made a deal with my mum. So I went to university. I did a physics degree in university,
Hmm.
which I absolutely detested. I hated it, every single minute of it. The only part I enjoyed of university was spending the student loan on competitions and going out partying. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I did the 3 years. If I go back in time, I probably would have done 3 years training more jiu-jitsu. To be honest, I wouldn't have done the university.
Yeah.
But I came out with a degree in the end. And then I said to my parents, look, give me 1 year. If I can't make minimum wage full time, so like £1,000, £1,200 a month teaching
Hmm.
jiu-jitsu, then I'll get any job you want me to get. I'll just do any job you want, and it is what it is, and I'll go from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was the start of it, and here we are now. And I still feel like I'm chasing goals and chasing ideas. I'm trying to achieve bigger and better things all the time, but
Yeah.
I certainly am. I tell everyone, if I retired tomorrow and I stopped competing, I wouldn't be happy. Like in terms of, I wouldn't be happy in terms of I didn't feel I could achieve more, but
Hmm.
I would have achieved more than I initially thought I was going to anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I consider that nice. It's a good thing to be able to sit down, when you're older and think like look back on kind of where I was at. So anything I achieve from here now is just lovely. It's a bonus. It's just I feel like I'm winning all the time now, so it's great.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned Josh as well. I mean, so you guys actually fought each other in competitions.
Oh, tons of times.
Because
Like
you hear a lot of that. I mean, where maybe not if gyms you come up against your teammate or whatever and they won't fight, but then obviously here, obviously brother fighting brother in
uh,
competitions. So
he's told me numerous times, like if we go ADCC trials and we get to the final, he said I'm gonna try and rip your foot off. But it's been my dream for years now. Like I want an ADCC. Like I really feel like I deserve to be an ADCC. But he's
yeah.
like, if I get a chance, I'm pulling your arm off, and I'm,
Oh,
I'm like, oh man. So I remember we did like total black and Hereford, I think it was, and we used to really go for it. And like he had me like a super deep arm, but like ridiculous. And
yeah.
obviously I'm like, I don't want to tap, and I'm super stubborn. And he let go of the armbar and didn't break my arm, thankfully. But afterward, he always tells me, he's like, oh, I could have broken your arm, and I was like, I'm not gonna tap anyways. You know? But yeah, he's probably like, I think I've beaten probably like twice in tournament ever, and he's beaten me like 20, 30 times.
Yeah.
Well, to put it this way, he's got the best win record over me of ever in my career.
Right.
He holds
Right.
the most wins over me of everyone I've ever fought against. So,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, I train with my son. My son's 22. I'm 43, and that's
yeah,
what we always said if we came up against each other. And people in the gym used to talk about it and said, if you did come up against each other, whether it be in a division or
yeah,
absolute, would you fight each other? And my son was like, yeah, I would go for him. so,
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
so
Um,
yeah,
I think it's one of the best things about the sport. You can literally go absolute balls to the wall, like super aggressively hard against someone in a match. And you're not like same as MMA. Like I wouldn't fight my brother in MMA. I wouldn't take pride in or joy in punching him in the face. But
yeah,
like Uh, Jiu-jitsu is just a case of two guys coming, going onto a mat, same as like a chessboard or anything, or a game of cards, and you both got your hands, and it's how you play them.
Yeah,
You both got what you've got, and it's what you can do on the day. Like I genuinely believe that pretty much anyone in the top 10 can beat anyone in the top 10 in any given day,
yeah,
and vice versa. Like it's a really is a small margin game. Um, and it's not a case of every like just because the jiu-jitsu math I talk about this a lot, like you can, if you beat someone and then they beat someone, it doesn't mean that you can beat that person also, so
yeah,
that's why I find it very difficult with rankings to be because it's not a league, like football's a league. Like
yeah,
it'd be incredible for one day jiu-jitsu reached that position where they took the top 20 guys at the start of 2021, and one show like organized the fact that all these 20 guys would have a match against each other or two matches against each other through a
yeah.
given year. Do you mean that would really give you a very, very accurate ranking system
Hmm.
where when a couple of guys sit down at a table and go, "Oh, he looks pretty good recently. Yeah, let's
Hmm.
just chuck him up 5 places." You're
Yeah,
like, like
yeah,
what? What? Where did that come from? Like, I went from not ranked to losing and then getting ranked 10th. Then I had 2 wins and I was fifth. Like it did.
yeah,
The journey kind of didn't make sense to me, but
yeah, yeah,
I'm just happy to have my name up in the mix with those guys. So, but a league is really what jiu-jitsu rankings should be based on, in my opinion.
yeah. I mean, a league would be good. I mean, as you mentioned, taking the top 20 guys, let's say like sort of 2021 when we get back to competing, taking the top 20 guys, they'll all fight to become the top 20 for 2022, and then
Yeah,
as you mentioned, have a kind of playoff, have them all fight each other, and
yeah.
then go
Knock,
from there.
knock, knock 5 people out, pull 5 people up. Whatever you want to do. But um, like when you think about like MMA rankings, realistically,
Mhm.
the only ranking that matters is the UFC rankings,
Yeah,
and the only rankings that matter in the UFC is really the person who holds the title.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
after that, it's not a case of like if he beats him, then he moves up and he moves down. They
yeah,
kind of just they still make it subjective. Like Conor McGregor can just be ranked wherever he wants to, even
yeah,
if he doesn't fight. It makes no sense. Whoever does the pay per view, so it's not like a true league.
yeah.
It's still a subjective ranking system, so it doesn't really do it justice.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, if any promoters are watching, definitely get something together. I mean, that would definitely bring in some fans as well. I mean,
I've thought about doing the UK tons about trying to run like a jiu-jitsu league, but
yeah,
it's difficult at the moment. Like a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes um, want to only find like pro shows, for example,
yeah,
or want to just do this or just do that or just do sub only, just do EBI overtime. Um, I think in particular, when it comes to the UK scene, I think there's too much people trying to hold on to who's the best in the UK type mentality, or who's like the best up north, who's the best down south, who's the best in London.
yeah,
But it's too short sighted. Like we need to be just competing against each other frequently so that we get competition experience and then go out and test ourselves against the top tier guys. Polaris do a great job. Grapple Fest. I've obviously haven't run for the later part of the year.
mhm,
Pantheon started just before lockdown, and there's other shows coming through like Ace Grappling and a few others have popped up recently. They're all really, really good shows, and I got a lot of time and respect for them all.
yeah,
Um, but in theory, like my opinion's always been the same, is that like pro shows should really be reserved for brown and black belts.
yeah,
That in an ideal world, it would just be black belts who
mhm,
are going out there actively to go compete against the best guys. So
yeah,
and one day I think they'll get there. But then if you said like black belts was the minimum, then like Nicky Ryan could have competed. So
yeah,
there's
yeah,
there's got to be exceptions to the rule and ideas like that. But generically, like I think two blue belts having a super fight on a pro card, it just doesn't make sense. Just go to Hereford, get
yeah.
get 5 matches a day, and just keep racking that experience up.
Definitely, definitely. And then, obviously, in regards to your experience, obviously, we kind of touched on some of it. I mean, we mentioned, obviously, Polaris, obviously,
Yeah,
winning the belt 3 times. Obviously, you mentioned about being in the teams event as well.
yeah.
Obviously, doing Grapple Fest and so on. You did some IBJJF comps as well, so I kind of noticed that. So you got a little bit of
Ye-
experience under that as well.
Yeah, I actually originally I was originally just a gi points fighter,
Yeah,
which is what I tell everyone. Like, and when everyone asks me like, "Oh, should I do gi?" And I go, well,
Mhm.
look, I did 10 years as a gi points fighter. Like
Yeah.
I did for ages. I just took for IBJF through brown and black belt,
Mhm.
and then as a I got invited to EBI, and that's when I got changed over to no gi. It wasn't really my idea to go to submission grappling. It was a case of it got chosen for me
Yeah.
because when EBI invited me there, and I was like, no way. I remember the day. It was incredible. Eddie Bravo literally just popped up into like you got a request message on Instagram. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is interesting. I went the request, and I was like, Eddie Bravo, and like, I was like, boys, do you think that's the real Eddie Bravo? That's like, they're like, click on it. I clicked on his profile, and obviously got like massive following, and I was like, holy shit, man, Eddie Bravo just messaged me. This is insane, you know. Um, and he just messaged me saying, do you want in? And I was like, yes? Question mark? Like, yeah, like 100%, man. I'm game for sure, you know. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I got like that first experience of going out to EBI, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, man, this is nuts. Like, and then I fought and lost.
Mhm.
And loads of people were like, man, your match was super entertaining. And I thought Rafael Domingos, the first EBI, I thought it was a really good match. You know,
Yeah.
I've always struggled with overtime. It's not really my forte. I don't really practice much negative positions in sparring. So yeah, we fought Rafael Domingos. It was good fun. And I got honest, that was what spurred my whole career. Like I say, Eddie Bravo's really like gifted me such an amazing opportunity because without that one lifeline,
Yeah.
I don't know where I'd be right now, you know, because they kind of kicked me up to the big leagues and give me an opportunity, you know. So, and then I fought in different shows. Eventually, I fought in Kasai. I fought in Grapple Fest in the UK,
Mhm.
Polaris. I've been back to EBI two more times,
Yeah.
uh, and I just always just loved the experience of competing on those pro shows. I think they're really really good fun, and obviously they like they're the start of what jiu-jitsu needed. You know, IBJF. Even though everyone hates IBJF, I massively, I think they've done a great job up until now.
Mhm.
If they don't actually adapt, I think they will get left behind over
Yeah.
time because I don't think they give enough back to their athletes. But fortunately for them, what they have got is obviously they've got the support of all of the top level gi players in the world. You know,
Yeah.
like the old school Brazilian guys who probably are less business orientated and more just doing jiu-jitsu. And obviously, they're friends of people who run IBJF. Then they're trying to keep competing at Worlds, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as long as you've got like Leandro Law, Rodolfo Vieira, Buchecha, turn up for the Gi Worlds every year,
Yeah.
everyone's still going to say IBJF is the best World Championships going. You know, it's just, and in my opinion, that won't get changed until the top guys kind of change what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows the pro shows and obviously the introduction of like heel hooks now. And there's lots of things they're doing, but I don't know if IBJF will keep the monopoly on the market for the future because unless they adapt and give back,
Yeah.
you know, people don't want to pay 100, £200 to compete and maybe get one match.
A
I did it
lot
for
of money.
years,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say to lots of people, you know, when they ask me about like, oh, like it must be great now flying around the world and you know, like earning money for seminars or private lessons and this and that. And I'm like, man, jiu-jitsu still owes me so much money. Like from what I put in, I'm still nowhere near even.
Yeah.
You know, like the amount of money I spent just to compete at lower levels, purple belt,
Yeah.
brown belt, black belt before I was, you know, before like EBI flew me to California. I used to pay every single time. Every time I had to go to the States, or every time I had to go compete in like Copenhagen, Zurich, anywhere, you know, I'd be paying all the time. And although I obviously don't begrudge it, man. It's an investment myself, and I definitely would do it 10
Mhm.
times over. You know, I'd definitely do it 10 times over again. But 100%, you know, like I still think I'm working my way back to being even with jiu-jitsu in terms of finances because it's not like, you know, it's not like MMA, you know, it's not UFC money.
Mhm.
It's not MMA money to be honest. It's not even like belts or money or any
Yeah.
other show that I know. Or it's purely it's like a local level MMA
Yeah.
purse,
Yeah.
you know. So it's not like you're going home and thinking like, oh, you're not going to chill out for 3 months now. You're like, right, give me another match next weekend. You know, like you got to go and go and go. So, and hopefully one day the UK will have enough shows that you know you can compete once, twice a month.
Mhm.
That was actually the hardest thing about lockdown for me is watching all the other guys in America competing
Yeah.
pretty much every other weekend, and I was like, man, like this is kill. Like I'm watching you just absolutely destroy people and just like tear people up. Like Alberto Jimenez, Cody Steele, these guys, like, they're competing every single weekend. And
Yeah.
Dante Leon, you couldn't go a weekend without hearing their name and them on the stage and competing again. And like one week that one of them would lose, and then the next week you'd win like 200 bounce. And
Yeah.
it seems as if they never fall out of favor. They would like, because if I compete 3 times, I win one, then I lose one. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's on a losing streak now," and you're like,
Yeah.
man, I've
Yeah.
lost one match. But they will just have one match, then losing, then winning, and then
Yeah.
everyone just like forgets about the loss in the middle. It's like, man, he's on a tear, man. This guy's absolutely lit. He's destroying everyone, even though he's had
Yeah.
lost in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was really hard. That was.
Definitely, definitely. That was the one thing as well. I mean, even if you wanted to compete in America, you couldn't, because obviously America wouldn't let anybody in.
Yeah.
I know they had kind of a lot of competition. I got a lot of friends over there, and they were traveling to different competitions and things. I know IBJJF put a few competitions on in Florida and stuff like that. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, if you were coming from out with America, you couldn't go. You couldn't go at all.
100% not, and that was definitely over this last 7 months. That's been very difficult. Is just essentially like me and Tom Harper keep fighting every other weekend if everyone wanted us to. Um, But I know Tom would say the same. He probably want to keep getting back out there and competing against
Yeah.
the Americans, the Australians, and keep pushing our names
Mhm.
up the rankings.
Yeah, definitely. And then we've got a question here. I don't know. It's obviously Mark Davis looking to take up jiu-jitsu. Okay. Any gyms that you would recommend in Ipswich? Now I know there's
Uh,
a couple. I think you've got Spartan BJJ in Ipswich. ZR have got a team in a kickboxing academy as well, which they run.
Jeff,
I'm sure it's still going. So
Jeff Lawson from down there, Jeff Hitman Lawson.
yeah.
I don't
So
maybe. Um, I say this all the time about UKBJ. Like I don't think people realise where Swansea's located
yeah.
because it is literally nowhere. It's so far from anything good. I can't explain. Like I get, like I say, like people mess me all the time. They're like, oh, if you ever find yourself like near London or like near Birmingham or near Liverpool and you want
Yeah.
to train, and I'm like, bro, that's never gonna happen. Like I couldn't like come out my house, swing a right, and then
Yeah.
swing a left, take a wrong turn in, and end up in London. Like there's
Yeah.
no way. That's impossible to happen. So these places are so far from me, and Swansea's so out of the way. Like I love where I live, and I do enjoy kind of living in Swansea and the city and the gym and everything I've got down here. But when people in the UK go like, oh yeah, you're not far from me, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I am far from me. So my knowledge outside of South Wales in terms of where like everyone's gyms are, like I know a lot of the guys, I know like a lot of the names and faces, but my geographics in terms of jiu-jitsu in the UK is pretty appalling.
Yeah. I mean, the best way to go, the UK BJJ Underground seem to get you'll get best reviews. As I said, you go on
That's if
there.
you're brave enough to post.
If you're brave enough to go on there and post something, then yeah, I mean, as I said, you'll always get someone who'll give you kind of advice
I
on.
put up like normal, genuine posts, just like, oh, what do people think of this? And then get 1,000 comments of abuse, and people just, and then I put a post before lockdown. We started this like 80cc lightweight training, and I put
Mhm.
a post saying like, oh, guys, I'd love for all of you guys to come down and train with me for free. Me and Ross Nichols was coming down. I was like, this would be wicked training.
Yeah,
You don't have to pay. You can sleep in the gym, whatever. As much as I can help you, I will. And I still had people literally just going like, so why can't I come? 'Cause I'm 82 kilos. I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm not being a bad guy. I'm just like I'm offering something for free, and if you don't fall within the
yeah,
demographic, it's not really. I shouldn't be held accountable. That's not that's not really my fault. It should be that. I was just trying to do something nice, but it's still like 1,000 comments and people just give me loads and loads of abuse.
yeah,
So when people ask me like, "Oh, should I post on the UK BJJ Underground?" I'm like, "Man, it's at your risk. You do if you want to." But I think I've left the group maybe like 5 to 10 times since I
yeah,
started jiu-jitsu. Just pop in and out, and someone's like, "Did you see this on the underground?" I'm like, "Get back in there then," and I
yeah.
start reading threads. So yeah, it's a bit of a crazy place.
It is. I mean, the underground. I mean, it can be funny at times, but yeah, not so funny at other times. So,
I remember before Fionn was the phenom she is, and and everyone knew who she was. She posted on the underground like, "Oh, I'm going to California to do the worlds." This was she was a blue belt. Can anyone recommend somewhere good in Los Angeles or LA or San Diego, something like that, to train?
mhm.
The first person just put a Google link of Googling BJ in San Diego. I just put a link in. And she was like, "Oh, thanks for your help. I thought the run was great for people to help each other." But I was like, if you don't put that in now, everyone will be like, "Oh, try this place, try this place."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but she was like, "No," and everyone's like, "Why don't you look up yourself? We're not Google." And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
Yeah, underground. As I say, I've been on it. I mean, since I started, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about 7 years. And yeah, I've seen the kind of ups and downs of the underground. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to be posting on that, definitely post. Yeah, I mean, post at your own will. As you'd expect, you're going to get some abuse. You're going to get some constructive kind of feedback, or but yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
It's
have a
it.
look on that. So, now, what about you then? I mean, obviously, future plans. I mean, what do you, what's your vision for the future for yourself?
So I've pretty much only got one goal now, and that's to qualify and to compete well at ADCC. So
Yeah,
I think obviously it'd be lovely to have like an EBI title, Casa Pro title, and all these, and fight to win, and third course grappling. I'd love to compete on all these shows and keep performing, and that's really what I believe I do. You know, I look at myself more as a performer than I don't just go out there and be like, oh, I hope I win, and I don't care if it's boring.
yeah,
Like, I really really want people to be entertained by what I'm doing, and I want them to think like this is what pro jiu-jitsu should be like. You know, I say I do when people ask me about competing on pro shows. Um, I always think that pro shows aren't going to be pro shows, and they're not going to build unless the people on the cards are exciting.
yeah,
And I think in my last like 15 matches, my match has always been within the top three on the card. Like as everyone just says, like, oh, it's either fight of the night or like this one, then your match was fight of the night. So
yeah,
like as long as I keep being entertaining, I'll be very happy because I think it's a very important thing to do. Unless you do like a Gordon Ryan, unless you just go out there and submit everyone
yeah,
and just prove that you can keep winning consistently, and the fact that your jiu-jitsu is probably the best on the planet,
hmm,
then I think the next best thing to do is to be entertaining
yeah,
because that's going to make people want to get involved with the sport. So as long as I keep myself being entertaining and I keep pushing towards that ADCC platform, I think I'd be very happy with that. Next year, I said this year I was going to try and be as active as possible, and obviously this has been my least active year to
yeah.
date. Um, I've actually lost one match per year for the last 3 years. So I
Hmm,
lost a match this year, lost one last year, last one the year before,
hmm,
uh, and they were all like super tough, good guys.
yeah,
But the problem is that it's not a protective record at all because I compete against the best as often as I can.
yeah,
But that's the problem is as often as I can, which is not frequent enough. Obviously if I start competing more, I will lose more for sure. But I think that's what I need at this stage of my career. Like if I'm going to make that push towards the top, and especially the push to perform at ADCC level,
hmm,
you're not talking one match, you're talking about 4 matches over 2 days.
yeah,
I really think that I need to be competing, uh, you know, twice a month,
hmm,
maybe more, just to keep myself as active and as um, kind of like numbing yourself to the environment, like just getting familiar with the environment, not feeling like every event is like, oh my god, this is a massive deal.
yeah,
And it's crazy because I started working on that this year, and I was getting really good. The players where I fought Alicon, I
hmm,
literally I was as cool and calm as I've ever been. I literally was like, man, don't stress. Just gonna go out there, do some jiu-jitsu,
yeah,
and we'll roll the dice and whatever will be. But I will go out there and do the best I can do.
hmm,
I pulled off a great performance, and then against Halpin, weirdly against Rio Tolo, there was 3 months gap,
yeah,
and all the work I did, I was like, man, Rio Tolo's really tough, and I was eating myself up inside, and I'm not the Grapple Fest rule set doesn't really. kind of gel well with my style of jiu-jitsu.
Mhm.
So there's a few factors in why I think psychologically I underperformed in that show. And then obviously Polaris now against Tom Halpin, I thought I put in a pretty good performance.
Yeah.
It probably, for sure could have been better. I think I definitely made some mistakes. One of the biggest things, which was a big shame, was there was no clock on the screen for the first 6 minutes. So I thought 3 minutes had been, but
Yeah.
6 minutes had been. Then I was like, man, I gotta go. So I started working a lot harder, and that's when I started to pass and started to put on a better performance.
Mhm.
Uh, but again, against Tom, I was super calm. I felt chilled, and I really have been working on my mindset to compete in.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that when it starts going like, right, you ready to compete against Gianni Grippo this weekend, then Gio Martinez next weekend, then Kennedy Marcial next month. It's going to start going like, pop, 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 and it's really going to push up on me, and it's going to be a hard period. But that's what I think I need. I need
Mhm.
that before I get to ADCC, so I can. So when I get to ADCC, I don't just go and one and done it. I don't go in there, lose a match, and never get back.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
go in there, I beat one or two guys, I solidify myself as that level,
Mhm.
then potentially get invited back, and who knows, pull off the upset. Get like grab a bag of medal, get to top spot. Who knows where I can get to? I'm really confident that on a good run and on a good day where I pull out all the stops, like Lachlan Giles's absolute run. They If you were to bet every single penny you're going to make for the rest of your life for him to repeat that,
Yeah.
like there's no way I'd be taking that bet. I wouldn't put my
No.
money on that to happen again. But I do believe I'm capable of a breakout performance like that. So, and if you do manage something like that in the jiu-jitsu world, then your life will almost change overnight. So,
Yeah.
that for me is going to be the primary focus because a lot of athletes. Uh, Unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, they put all their eggs in one basket. They try really hard their whole entire lives to be the pinnacle of the sport they can be. And you hear about it all the time. Guys get like maybe cut from the UFC,
Yeah.
and then they fight on local shows and they're back making like pennies on the pound that they used to make. And
Yeah.
then they have to get like a normal job. There's even guys in the UFC, if they've been iced for long enough, they have to get a job on the side to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu is even less of a professional sport. There's less money in it. So, it's always daunting the fact that if you don't put performances together,
Yeah.
then your career could tank quite quickly. And that's one of the things I'm grateful for my academy for. Like I get paid a salary for my gym, and we've got a good membership base, and the gym seems to go very well.
Mhm.
So I'm always grateful for the fact that I don't necessarily have to compete.
Yeah.
I want to compete. Where you hear a lot of guys, in particular with MMA, where they're like, "Oh, I have to make this performance count,"
Yeah.
because it could be the make or break of whether I put food on the table next month.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and for someone to be in that position where they've really committed their whole life to a sport, is very very tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where I don't want to be, which is why when I talk about ADCC and going to the top I can be, it's a case of it's all just extra for me. I really
Yeah.
feel like I've put myself in a good position to enjoy life if that's what I choose.
Mhm.
But to not compete, I think would do myself a disservice because I've proven to be able to compete against that caliber of opponents, and I really enjoyed the idea of like being like the first. Like I wasn't the first male athlete to compete in ADCC from UK. There's many been before me now. Like I think it's four been,
Mhm.
but no one's still, no one has won a match yet. So and it's not a case of I want to be the first because I want to prove a point that I'm better than everyone. It's a
Yeah.
case of that I feel like the person who does it first opens the door for everyone else to go, man,
Yeah.
we can actually do that. Like the amount of kids I get in my gym now come up to me and go like, when I'm older, I want to be like you are.
Mhm.
Like compared to when I was a kid and I was saying I'd love to do jiu-jitsu when I'm older, and everyone's like, what are you on about? Get a real job, like go sit behind a desk. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want in our life, and I really don't want to be stuck with that.
Yeah.
So, the fact that I always say that whatever all of us UK athletes achieve now in the next 5 years,
Mhm.
the 10 years following that, there are gonna be these kids coming through that are just breaking records left,
Yeah.
right, and centre, and you'll never keep up with them. They'll overtake you uh, within a year or two of being a black belt. But
Yeah.
I honestly just don't think people can do it without other people setting examples or leading the way, or doing those first that people have never done.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel really most very proud of myself, is the fact that I know that, again, like I have tons of kids in the gym who always just go like, I love jiu-jitsu when I'm older, and the fact that that seems possible to them, and the
Hmm.
fact that their parents don't actually even turn around and go like, oh, that's just silly. They go, yeah, to be fair, Ashley's life does look good. Like, I definitely go for that. Like
Yeah.
that makes me really proud. The fact that that is something that's viable now, which wasn't viable previously.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's good that you've got kids coming up to you, want to be like you. Obviously, you being a kind of inspiration for kids coming up, and not just kids, but adults alike. I mean, there's been a few people I've spoke to over the last, well, since Polaris. I mean, since your fight at Polaris, obviously, what you winning that third fight, that third belt at Polaris, and speaking to me and saying that they were kind of inspired. And when I'd put the first post up that I was going to be speaking to you, I kind of got a lot of people sending me stuff, sending me videos and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Just watching videos of you in different competitions and so on. So,
Yeah,
so
I do get I get great feedback when I win or lose. To be fair, I've lost and had a lot of support in the past, and
mhm,
it does really mean the world to me. Like are when people watch the matches, and it makes a difference to them. Um, I think that's brilliant, and that's
yeah,
what I actually enjoy massively about competing, is the fact that, for example, in lockdown, like a lot of guys in my gym were, deprived of jiu-jitsu, and then they were hungry for it, and they couldn't train or whatever else. But I think even just watching someone compete,
yeah,
um, can just give you that little bit of a boost in your day, give you that little bit of a good weekend feeling. And it's really cool, the fact that we're able to do that. Um, but as I said, in the UK, you can have probably equal amount of haters, if not more,
yeah,
than supporters. But I think people will change over time. The Americans kind of have got like this massive, like, let's get behind anyone who's doing good attitude,
yeah,
which I think is brilliant. It's really, really cool that happens. I said, like, when I went to my parents when I was younger, saying like, oh, I don't want to go to university, they'd always say like, make sure you got something to fall back on,
mhm,
which isn't necessary. It's not bad advice.
mhm,
But when Nicky Ryan, for example, goes to his parents, goes, I don't want to be in school, and I want to do jiu-jitsu full time, they
yeah,
go, well, then just be the best you can be.
yeah,
So, but if I hadn't won Polaris titles and I hadn't had success in competing, I'd probably be grateful for the degree I've got. So,
yeah,
it's a risk reward situation, But I'm definitely glad that I pursued jiu-jitsu and kind of didn't listen to a lot of people who were criticizing the fact that it couldn't be something.
yeah, definitely. And then we mentioned as well, obviously, you're bringing out the um, instructional at some point
Yeah.
next year, the arm drag takedown instructional.
Yeah, so before I fought Richard Alcon, I did an instructional with Grapple Club for Z-Guard. So before I was when I was a brown belt, I actually was just an out and out guard player. So I pulled guard every single match, and I only played like half guard, one butterfly, or Z-Guard.
Mhm,
And I actually won European Nogi brown belt title in IBJJF from that position. I think I submitted 3 or 4 guys from that position,
yeah,
and the other one then I pulled guard, swept, and took his back and rode out the time. But I told him, I was like, look, I'm telling you, I'm gonna hit the arm drag. Like, I know it's coming. I know it's there. I'm gonna hit the arm drag. Let's film that. It'll be wicked. People will enjoy it. And then they were like, no, no, like, the takedown instructions don't always go that well. And I'm like, no, but I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be like a highlight one. It's gonna be a good one.
yeah, yeah,
And then they said they were like, no, let's go for the guard. So I was like, okay, let's go for guard. So we did that. It went really well, and I really, really enjoyed the product, and we had a lot of success with it. But 2 weeks later, I hit the arm drag, and I was like, man, that takedown's so dope. It's and they're going crazy. I got people messaging me from all over the world going like, the Ash Williams arm drag coming out again. And I was like, like if we had filmed it and put it out right now, like that would have been absolutely crazy. So, but yeah, so I've been working really hard with one or two guys, Attack the Back, this guy Rich Presley, He's super talented guy. Very, very good in the jiu-jitsu world in terms of his marketing, branding, and other stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and we're looking to, um, and we're going to launch an online learning platform next year,
Mhm.
and it will be kind of kicked off with the arm drag instructional. We're looking for like a subscription-based kind of website. It'd be
Yeah,
like super low cost, only a couple of pound a month.
yeah,
Where I just update and put some stuff in that I've been working on. Maybe do some Q&As on there, answer some questions from people who are learning jiu-jitsu. One of the biggest things I think is a massive difference in my jiu-jitsu career compared to a lot of others is I've frequently been asked the question like, "Oh, how come you don't move gym to like a gym full of world champions?"
yeah.
And I always tell everyone like, if you utilize your training room properly and you have faith in your team, then you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. And
Mhm.
I've always been a big advocate of my team's my team. If I fail with my team, I'll fail with my team. If I win with my team, I'll win with my team.
Yeah,
But I don't have any intention to leave the people who are by my side now for my whole career. And a lot of people do it. A lot of people move gyms, do changes. Um, Sometimes it's for the better. Sometimes it generally is a better idea. And sometimes it's because you want to blame an external factor for an intrinsic factor. Of why you're failing. Like you could be failing because your work rate or the way you treat the competition isn't adequate enough.
yeah,
So that's one thing I think we're going to push very hard in terms of the online platform is try to give people some motivation who maybe
yeah,
are struggling with going like, oh, but my training is not optimal. Oh, I haven't got world champions on my mats. How can I be good? Like I think it does make a big difference when you speak to someone about it who's in a similar position about how they overcame similar obstacles and what type of training they were implementing to still achieve what they've achieved. So,
yeah,
like, my favorite thing whenever I get a world champion or a very high level person on the gym, I don't really ask them about the techniques. I ask them a lot about like how they train, the methodology they use, the
yeah.
principles that they use. Basically their mindset. I'm really interested in how their brain works.
Mhm.
I don't know. Have you watched Queen's Gambit on Netflix?
No, no.
That is fantastic. Okay, but Queen's Gambit on Netflix. Obviously, there's the Michael Jordan documentary.
Mhm.
Uh, what was that called? Do you remember?
Michael Jordan, I remember that one. I didn't see that. I remember my son watching it, and then
Oh,
um,
Last Dance. That's one. Last Dance.
Last Dance.
Yeah,
Yes.
everyone was watching that. So like, I watch a lot of stuff like that. I watch a lot of documentaries on sports. Like I watched one on cheerleading. I watched one on ballet. I watched loads of stuff with regards to someone achieving
Yeah.
high level,
Mhm.
because realistically, the crossover between any athlete or really any person who achieves highly within their field,
Mhm.
even if you just go like to people like Warren Buffett or anything, people who just are very high achievers, often their mindsets have got massive crossovers in how they view life or how they approach their day or how they approach the situation they're in.
Yeah.
So I watch a lot of stuff like that, not for like to sit there for entertainment value, but I
Yeah.
really enjoy seeing like what they, how they tick and what makes them like work. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that.
I mean, you're talking about obviously the ones on Netflix. My daughter does gymnastics, and one of the things she watched was Simone Biles. Simone Biles
She's
documentary.
brilliant.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I
that's
remember sitting watching a bit of that and just seeing again everything she did. I mean, she was outside in the front garden doing backflips for 6 and 7 hours at a time,
yeah.
and she wouldn't stop until she got it.
That's what I do. I do feel like it's very the social media is a tough one these days because it kind of like it can highlight stuff like that where you really watch and ask how they grow and how they develop,
Yeah.
and then you also got like I don't want to call them the Conor McGregor fans of MMA, but
Mhm.
like that similar type of generational idea of people where they just go, "Oh, it's cool. I'll just be like Conor McGregor was." You're like, man, that
Yeah.
guy was putting serious work. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't just get into the UFC and then start smack talking
Yeah.
and like by luck, like KO'd 5 people in a row. That didn't happen. The guy put in super like
Yeah. Yeah.
ridiculous work to get where he is. And anyone who like gets to UFC level, anyone who gets to black belt world champion level,
Mhm.
if anybody thinks that they just decided one day, quite fancy being a black belt champion.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's give it a go. if you even just think about the fact that why did Gordon Ryan not win the Gi Worlds?
Mhm.
I'm not saying he can't or he couldn't. But he definitely put a gi on and realised that the task was going to be difficult.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if he could easily just have done it, why wouldn't he just do it to prove
yeah,
a point? Like 100%, you definitely. If I could win Gi Worlds, do you think I'd be? I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be. I'd probably have my feet up in California, Hawaii, somewhere,
yeah,
enjoying my lovely beach house. Like
yeah,
so. It's a case of if if you could do it, why wouldn't you? And it's
yeah,
because like the amount of hard work all these people have to put in is exceptional. And, like you get people watch UFC, like the undercard or the prelim fights, and people are like, oh, I beat him. I'm like,
yeah,
no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Yes, they don't look as good as the guy who's the top of the division.
yeah,
The guys down here are still significantly better. But the gap is huge compared to the general population.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I think people get that misconception all the time. It's like, oh, that don't look like he's that good. Like, oh, I could just pass his guard. And you're like,
yeah,
well, go pass his guard then. You go pass his guard and tell me that it looked easier on screen than it does in person because it's the truth.
yeah,
Um, so like that's what I said. I love those documentary stuff because
yeah,
you really get to see the fact that those iceberg kind of memes, where they show like the success and everything underneath.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it, it's just true for every athlete that ever achieved.
yeah,
The amount of hard work they put in
mhm,
is incredible. That's why I've got respect for. That's why they say I lose or win.
mhm,
If I lose, when I lose, I'm always just like, fair play, buddy. You must be really good at jiu-jitsu because I train really hard every day to be good
yeah,
at this sport.
yeah,
So if someone beats me, well, they had a better hand that day. They
mhm,
broke and they played the hand a lot better than I did. It
yeah,
doesn't mean I can't beat them at some point in the future. It just means that they did do very good that day, and I should be happy for them.
definitely, definitely. And then obviously, in regards to you, then anybody sponsor wise, or anybody for your journey that you want to thank so
Uh,
far?
yeah, if I ever got round to the day when I retire, the amount of people I'd have to thank would be like just inflow.
Yeah,
Like there's guys who helped me back when I was like 16.
mhm,
Guys who when I was in university, like made my life bearable. They just helped me with my and it's the crazy things like the day to day stuff. Like keeping on top of your gi washing or your no gi washing, keeping your diet good. It's so much easier to pick up snack food and junk food. Like there's so many people that have been a massive push in my journey.
yeah,
But the truth is, my family, like my wife, my brother, my sister-in-law, my sister, my parents, my coach, Chris, and my team, the guys I train with day in and day out. Like I always say to my team before but literally every Thursday before I go compete before I travel on the Friday and compete Saturday, I always just say, look, I'm going to try my best because when I'm out there, I represent us as a team.
yeah,
And if I fail, then we failed, and if I succeed, then we've succeeded. That's
yeah,
what I tell my team every single time before we compete, because I'm massively pro that idea. No athlete is a standalone island, and they
mhm,
need the support network. So to Tatami Fightwear, I've had my back since day one. They've been on board and helped me out as much as they possibly can. But yeah, generally, just everyone who's helped me, I think they know who they are, and
yeah,
I'm always grateful for the sport network. Like how a single athlete does it, like by themselves or like solo. Like you get these guys who've like got like two kids, like a full time job, and then they're
yeah,
still competing every weekend, and you're like, man, how you like? It blows my mind how people do it. Like hats
yeah.
off to them because I don't think I could do that. No.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, it's been an honour, an absolute honour to speak to you, Ash. As I said, I'm definitely a fan. As I said, obviously I've seen quite a few of your kind of competitions, seen you on Polaris a few times. So absolutely love watching your jiu-jitsu style. And yeah, fingers crossed, obviously we get out this coronavirus lockdown and we can get
Oh, I
you
hope
back
so.
competing again and get you to them ADCC trials, definitely.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Listen, it's been an absolute honour, and we'll speak to you soon, bro. Okay.
No worries.
Take it
Take it
easy,
easy.
mate. Bye bye.